Welcome back everyone to the episode of Let's Build Twitter. We're at episode 104, and as always, if you guys do want access to the repository that we are working on in here, all you have to do is go ahead and join the channel membership down below. There should be a red button, or there's also a link in the description that'll take you there. Also, I am live streaming every Tuesday and Thursday around 6 a.m. Central Time, so if you guys do want to see some live, uncut, just messing around and trying to figure things out, you can also watch that as well. Let's go ahead and hop into what we work on today. In this episode, we continue working on the backend Java code. Start out with generating a new repository interface for the simple Post CRUD functionality, including being able to get posts by specific user. Then we set up a service layer class to be able to create, view, and delete posts to be used with our controller methods. Finally, wrap up the episode by setting up our basic controller logic for creating and viewing posts, and test it out on Postman to be sure that the system is working as it should. As always, I'm Ethan Encoder, and let's hop straight into the development. So back inside of Eclipse, my goal here is just to get very simple stuff working, and then we'll go back through. I'm going to probably do pagination and all that stuff at a later date, but right now I just want creating posts working and then viewing some posts, and we'll be a-okay. So I'm going to go ahead and close out of our models and close out of posts. This is all good to go. I'm going to go into our repositories, make a new interface. We're going to go ahead and call this post repository. And inside post repository, we're going to go ahead and say extends JPA repository. And this is going to take in the post and the ID type, so integer. And let's go ahead and import JPA repository, baby. Here we go, and we'll import post. So for the time being, we're not going to have anything special in here. We're going to come back through and add some other special ones. We're going to say optional set a post. It's going to say find by author. We'll have the application user author. So basically this will find a post by a specific user. This can probably be multiple functional, or that's not a very good way to say this, but I'm guessing we could probably use this for multiple things other than just finding by a specific author. Like for example, we could loop through a user's list of like following, for example, and get all of the posts and then order them and everything like that. So that's why I said we'll see how much more repository stuff do we need. We're going to start that because this is what we need to get the basic functionality working. And then we're going to go ahead, set up a new DTO, a new class, and this is going to be called the create post DTO. And this is going to have some basic information in it that we need to create a post. So a private string content. We're going to need a private application user author. We're going to need a set post replies. Now this one seems strange that we need a set of posts to create a post. Let's actually spell application user right. And let's go ahead and grab post, set, and post here so this stops complaining. Please, there we go. But the reasoning behind needing a list or a set of replies is because you can create threads on your tweets or your post on Twitter. So basically you send it out with replies already on it. So we want to be able to do that. So that's what we'll do. Then we have a private, maybe private Boolean scheduled. We'll have a private, dang it, I cannot type this morning, date scheduled date, and then we'll have a private audience and a private reply restriction. So these are like the 4 or 5 or 6, however many basic things that we need, and it's a lot smaller than passing in an entire post object. So that's the idea behind it, and hopefully I spelled everything properly. Cool. And now we're just going to go ahead and set up our getters and setters. Now I think in Java 11 you can technically use like a record or something, but I came up on Java 8 and using Java 8 features. So I'm going to continue to use Java 8 features. It just is what it is. So if you guys know more like Java 11 features and other stuff like that, you know, you can go for whatever features you want. These are just the features that I use, and we'll go ahead and do our getters and setters. And our toString because we might want to print this one. So source and a toString. And there we go. We got our DTO. And this is just so we don't have to pass so much information because the post has so many properties. We don't want to have to basically send everything back and forth. Cool. Now we're ready to set up our service. So we can go ahead and close out a couple of things here. Clean up this. Go into our services. Make a new class. And this will be called post service. And we'll go ahead and annotate this with @service. We'll also go ahead and annotate with @transactional. That way each method acts as a transaction @transactional. And make sure this comes from Spring. That way Spring can manage it for us. Nothing wrong with Hibernate doing it, but we want Spring to do this. So we want a private and a final post repository. So we can store and get our stuff. So post repo. Okay, let's go ahead and import post repository. And then we need to set up our @autowired and public post service. This is going to take in our post repository, post repo, and this dot post repo is equal to post repo. And let's go ahead and do the auto-wired like that. So now we're basically just doing basic CRUD at this point. We're going to go ahead and set up our create post, our get all post, get post by ID. We'll set up a get post by author and then a delete post. No updating post. This is like old school Twitter. So a public post create post. And this is going to take in a create post DTO. I'm just going to call this DTO and like that. Cool. And now, of course, it's going to complain because 1, we're not importing this stuff, and 2, because we're not going to be returning a post. So for now, I'm just going to return null, and we'll deal with the rest later. So I'm going to go ahead and just say post P is equal to a new post, and I'm going to do this slightly different. So now we're going to go ahead and set a few things. So we're going to go ahead and say p.setContent equal to DTO.getContent. Then we're going to say p.setDate. And we're going to set the date to the time. Yep, okay, it is posted date. Posted, whoops, date. So basically we're going to set the posted date, and I guess we should probably change this slightly different. So what we're going to say is we're going to say if there is a DTO dot and get get scheduled. So if we are scheduled, then we're going to set the posted date. And this is also on the fly. Then we're going to set the posted date equal to DTO.getScheduledDate. Otherwise, we're just going to go ahead and set it to a new date. So p.setPostedDate equal to a new date. Cool. So we're either going to set it to the posted date or we'll set it to the date that we need. So that's good. And then we need to say p.setAuthor. So we'll go ahead and set the author to DTO.getAuthor. And then we need the replies. So p.setReplies equal to DTO.getReplies. And then we need to say p.set is .set. There should be a is scheduled or something along those lines. Set scheduled, and this would be pDTO. Or I guess it's just DTO.getScheduled. We still need to set the scheduled date, so p.setScheduledDate. And I guess we could have changed this slightly as well, but it is what it is. DTO.getScheduledDate. And then what else do we need? We need audience and reply restriction. p.setAudience is equal to DTO.getAudience and p.set. And this is going to be reply restriction is equal to DTO.getReplyRestriction. And I believe that's everything we need. Content and the date that it got scheduled, the author, the replies, the scheduled date, so on and so forth. So that's everything that we pass it. Now we're going to go ahead and say try. And we're going to say posted is equal to post repo dot save, and we're going to go ahead and save that post p. And if that works, we're going to go ahead and return posted, and then we'll catch any exception that might occur. Will probably be an SQL exception or a Hibernate exception. And this one will just return null. And here we're going to say to do set up custom exception. So this is something I'll have to come back and do later. But for now, that's how we'll create our post. Next, we're going to have a public list of posts. And this is just going to get all posts. This one will be very simple. Just return post repo dot find all. And when I'm using an option or thing, we're just going to go ahead and that. So that one's good to go. And then we need to get a post by ID. So public and post get post by ID. The idea behind this one is that whenever you send like a link to a tweet, people can open it up. So I want people to be able to open up tweets as well. So I'm going to go ahead and put it to do set up custom exception for posts that don't exist. So that could be a problem. Here we're going to return post repo dot find by ID, and we're going to say dot get for now. Now this could be empty, and that's why we're going to set up a custom exception. But for the time being, we're just trying to get everything working. We'll deal with it later. So public set a post, and this is going to be get all post by author. This is going to take in an application user called author. And here we need to go ahead and import set an application user. So now we'll go ahead and say set a post equal to user post is going to say post repo dot find by author, pass in the author, and then I'm going to say or else. So if we don't find it, we're going to pass it a new hash set like so. And the reason why I'm just going to pass a new hash set is because if the user doesn't exist, or if the user hasn't posted anything, we'll just return an empty set basically. No harm, no foul on that one. And we'll return that user set or the user post. And finally, public void delete post p. And this one will just say post repo dot delete post. That one is super simple. We'll have to pass in the actual object there, but that's no big deal. So that should be good to go, other than obviously having a couple of exceptions and exception handling to deal with, but we'll deal with that in a little bit later. So now let's go ahead and get posts flowing to and from our backend by going into our controllers and setting up a new class, and we'll call this post controller. And finish. Of course, we'll need at rest controller on this. And then we'll also need put request mapping. At request mapping, we'll go to /post. And we'll go ahead and import request mapping. Cool. So now we're going to need a private final post service. So we need to go ahead and import post service. Then we're also going to go ahead and need an at auto wired, and this is going to be a public post controller, and this will be take in our post service, and this dot post service is equal to post service. If I could type like so, and at auto wired, there we go. Cool. So now again, we're just gonna have some basic mappings here. So the first one being at get mapping to slash. So as the convention for REST repositories go, this will basically just be a get all. So public list of post type get all posts. This will just return post service dot get all posts. We got some things to import. So we'll import our get mapping. We'll import our list. We'll import our post. Simple enough. Then we'll have our at post mapping to slash. And this is going to be a public post create post. And this is going to take in at request body of create post DTO. And I'm going to say post DTO. And we're going to deal with the media posts in a little bit. So we're going to do the images in a separate, basically, a separate request mapping. So we'll see that in a little bit. I'm going to return post service dot create post, pass in that post DTO. We're good to go there. And then we're going to have a ID. So at get mapping. And this is going to go to slash ID. So this is going to basically get the specific post, the public post get post by ID. And this is going to take in an at path variable. And this will be called ID, int ID. And this one's going to be simple enough as well. Let's go ahead and I don't know what's wrong with the get mapping. Public post. What is going on here? Did I spell get mapping or something wrong? Is it because I'm not returning anything? We'll try return post service dot get post by ID. There we go. Pass in the ID. And it might be because post at path variable isn't returned, or it's the wrong post. I spelled public wrong. Let's spell public right. That's a lot better. Okay. And import our path variable. That's good to go. And then finally, we'll get at get mapping to slash author slash user ID. This will be a public and I guess set a post. And this will be get post by author. And this will take in a path variable as well. Path variable. Make sure you write user ID right. Otherwise, it'll break everything. So we got our user ID. Apparently haven't imported set yet. And this one will just return our post service dot get post by author. And we need to go ahead and say this. We're going to use a trick. Application user I'll say author equal to new application user. All Hibernate cares about is the ID on this object. So if the ID matches an ID inside the database, that's all it cares about. So we can go say author dot set ID. Set user ID, and then just say the user ID, and that will actually suffice as an entire object. And then we can just pass in author here, and I'll show you that works in a little bit. Finally, at delete mapping to slash, and this will just basically say public response entity of type string, and we'll just pass the message back. Delete post. Have an at request body of post p. Now what we could have done is we could have definitely made this just pass in an ID or something, but we're going to have the entire post object on the front end anyway, so I can just pass it back. Post service dot delete post, pass that post in, turn a new response entity of type string, and we'll say post has been deleted, comma, HTTP status, okay. And we need to import HTTP status from Spring. There we go. So now we have a hopefully operational application here. So what we can go ahead and do is let's go into Postman and test it out. So here in Postman, let's go ahead and try to create a post. So if we go ahead and go to our /post, so I'm pretty sure user ID 2 should be valid. This is going to be a post without any media in it. We have our author for user ID 2, no replies, no scheduled, no nothing. Fingers crossed this works. I'm not sure if it's going to. You never know. And without a doubt, as always, we got a post. So it was created, I believe that's the right date. The author is kind of scuffed, but we should have the author information, whenever we're actually on the front end. So I'm not that concerned about it. Likes and views are obviously empty, but what I'm primarily concerned about is this and these ones as well. If we go into dbeaver, let's actually take a look at our footer DB and go into our post table and check the data. So we can go ahead and say view data, and you can see we have a post in here, and this author ID should point to me, so users. And here, although I'm not sure, we might need to, well, I guess it's probably fine because we go back into our public ERD, our users is talking to post right here, so foreign key. So yeah, I'm not concerned about it. Sometimes the table just doesn't show what's going on. So that's creating a post like that. We should be able to get all of our posts now. So get all posts. We just have one post. We can get a post by ID. So I think it's 3, not 3. Let's see. Oh, we forgot to set one thing up. I'll deal with that later. There's one thing that we have to set up for that. And we should be able to get post by user ID. So author 2, we get Ethan's post. We should be able to delete a post. So this one, let's see. I'm not sure if the bearer token is going to work or not, and also I don't know if the rest of this information is correct. So what I'll do is I'll actually just grab this post, copy it, and this one I'm not sure if it's going to work. We'll see. But we should be able to hopefully delete a post. Post was deleted. And let's check the database. Let's see if the post was actually deleted. I'll just refresh here, I guess, because I can't see. Our post is gone. And I'm sure it's right in my face. I just haven't used dbeaver in a while. So cool. So that's good to go. Now we can go ahead and work on some exceptions and getting media to work. Unfortunately, that's going to be it for today. If you guys enjoyed, please stick around for the next episode by hitting that subscribe button. You'll know exactly when it comes out, especially with that bell icon. If you did enjoy the content today, please sure to leave a thumbs up. If you did enjoy it, leave a thumbs down. Either way, it helps out with the algorithm all the same. And finally, if you have any suggestions or feedback for me, make sure you leave a comment down below. With that being said, I appreciate you all for watching. Stay tuned for the next episode. Peace out, guys, and I'll see you in the next one.